Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Unmuted. How's everybody doing? You guys...
No! She wasn't ready.
SG, what's going on? Wicked Cat 42, what's going on? Did you find your cat? I did. So for those that don't know, the reason we're a little bit delayed today is because my cat, Azar, and for those that don't speak Arabic, Azar means cheeky, like naughty, piece of shit, basically. Ran away. He opened the door. He does this thing where he jumps on the handle and just swings it open. We normally have the front door locked. And he just happened to be Fawaz, what's going on? Thank you for the fire. He just happened to figure out that the door was unlocked and opened the door, ran out, and we had to run around looking for him in 40 degrees Celsius heat. Last minute. It was an adventure, you guys. It was an adventure. Listen, it was an adventure. I might make a hat out of him, but that's just because I love him and he scared the shit out of me. But other than that, it's all good. Never mind. Don't worry. It's okay, you guys. It's okay. Oh my God! Thank you, Derpy, for everything you do. You're a fucking super mod. Thank you for holding down the fort while I ran around sweating my ass off. But let's see who's here. Pathetique, Dana, what's going on? Welcome. Good to see you here. Who else is in the house? Belfagor resubscribed at tier 1 5 months straight. What a badass! Thank you so much, Belfagor. Roxanne is in the house. SG is in the house. Craggers, Julian, Gorilla, the badass. What's going on? Denmark Vocals is in the house. How's it going, you guys? Kamikozy, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Kamikozy. We said Wicked is already in his house. Who threw up the party lights? Who's throwing up? Who's partying right now? Who's partying right now? 4 Derpy paws with the 200 biddies. Derpy, what are you doing? Stop, Derps. Julian tried the lamp of good. Hi from quarantine. How's it going over there, Dana? We need to talk about quarantine soon. Magda Adams, hi. How's it going? Bloody Randomer, what's going on? You guys are fucking coming out swinging today, and I'm very excited because today we have a guest that I think all y'all know. Every single one of you guys here, especially the tribe that's been around for a while, knows what's going on. We got Squatter from Bloodstock Fest in the house today. He's not only been part of Bloodstock TV doing the interviews and the Bloodstock Twitch channel and the Bloodstock family in general, but dude's a homie. Dude's tribe. He's come to hang out with us a bunch of times in this channel. We've gone over to hang out with him when we were doing quiz nights and stuff. And I want to get to know his journey. I want to dive deep into the world of Squatter. No, I don't want to say it like that. Maybe we say it a little differently, but we're gonna get to know him, and I'm very excited because there's a ton to talk about. So if you guys are ready, wait, is there a fucking hype train? All right, let's hit the intro and then we hit the hype train. Hit the intro. Squatter, welcome to the show, my friend.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How's it going? A Wicked Cat just subscribed at tier 1. Thank you so much for that. Squatter, you've been around here long enough to know that as soon as there's a hype train, we have to play a specific little snippet of a song, just to let everybody know.
Yeah, that's all good.
What song would a metalhead play when he hears the word train?
I would say that would be Crazy Train. I would say.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much for the hype train. We haven't even started. You guys are absolute badasses. Holy shit, what just happened? Derpy with 5 tier 1 subs. God damn it, Derpy. What an absolute badass. Thank you, guys. Level 3 already. We just introduced our guest. And yeah, I genuinely have no words. The guy that talks too much has no words because you guys are fucking amazing. Thank you. Lars is in the house. What's going on, Lars? Squatter, how's it going, man? Sorry for that. Flustered me. Fucking hype train in the first 5 minutes. How's it going?
Well, I've actually got 2 disappointments to start the show with, unfortunately. So the first one is that I spent like like 6 weeks now training Azar to open that damn door and to stay hidden for 2 hours to get me out of this. And he's managed to do the first bit, but he's not managed to pull off the second bit. So that's kind of not started my evening off great. And then the second thing is that hype train that you just did. I genuinely, although I have been hanging around in here, I haven't seen that happen before. And on my list of things to do for our channel is to get an animation with Ozzy going across the bottom of the screen on a little train with hype on it and all aboard playing. So you've just ruined that as well. So thanks very much. Cheers. Thanks. Ooh, yay.
Well, listen, we can share Ozzy. It's fine. We can share Ozzy. There's plenty of Ozzy to go around.
I mean, I could literally show you the notes I've got. It's not like I'm like cheated and I'm just like, oh yeah, well, he would say that. I've literally actually got it written down in here, just like, unbelievable, man. I've got books of notes everywhere because doing the Twitch is not a full-time job for me. So every time I think of something, it goes in the book, and there are pages and pages of ideas, but no time to do them all, my friend.
That's a good segue. But before we get into it, you guys, Bloody Randomer with 100 biddies, Dinmock with the 10 biddies, Kraggers with 100 biddies. We're on level 3 hype train. We have 3 minutes left. Holy crap-oly, you guys. Holy crap-oly. I luckily don't have any pictures of you, Julian. Bussy, what's going on? Welcome. Good to see you. First time chatter. Welcome to the channel. Already subbed? I don't like how... you guys are insane. Absolutely insane. But that's a good segue, squatter. I always say I kind of gave you an intro before the intro, but in your own words, for those that might not know you, introduce yourself to the tribe.
So, I am Squatter, and I have been working for Bloodstock, in inverted commas, for 2016, since 2016. So, I originally started off just doing interviews at the festival. So we have a festival, for those that don't know, Bloodstock Festival is in the UK, is in Derbyshire. It's been running since 2001. So this was, 2020 was going to be our 20-year anniversary. This year is now going to be our 20-year anniversary, and we'll talk something about that in a little while. Yes, we are a heavy metal festival and family run, and we have, grown. Started off as an indoor festival, and now we're an outdoor festival. About 20,000 people come each year, second week in August. And in 2016, 2 weeks before the festival, I was asked, would you like to come and do some band interviews? And I said, yes, okay. So I went and did the band interviews for 4 days at the first festival, and then was asked to do the BloodstockRadio podcast after that. So I've been doing that. And then Twitch has sort of taken over from the podcast. So that's where we're looking at going, because I didn't really like doing the pre-recorded aspect of a podcast. I prefer to do stuff live, which you'll be staggered at by the time this is finished, because you're thinking, Jesus, this guy can't talk live. What's he thinking?
Listen, if anyone shouldn't have a live show, it's me. Trust me, the amount of shit I've said on the stream where I'm like, God, I shouldn't have said these things.
Well, it's nowhere near as bad as how Bees finished the stream last week. He's done really well all the way through, and then he was like, no, cut. And funnily enough, Adam, who's one of our Bloodstock directors, he has a habit for doing things. We have Facebook Live sessions where we give our festival goers updates on what's happening. We do giveaways and stuff like that. That'll be moving across to Twitch at some point as well. But they do that on Facebook, and for some reason, Adam, whether it's nerves or anything like that, at the end of the stream, he'll usually go, okay, thanks everyone, thanks for tuning in, great. And he goes like that, and then he goes, and then goes, oh shit, didn't mean to do that. And he just, for some reason, does obscene finger gestures at the end of it, or swears at people, and I don't know why. He's just got some sort of Tourette's or something like that. But yeah, it's difficult when it's live though.
It is, absolutely. And I want to take a step back and try to kind of find out how you ended up here. You ended up on this place. But before we take a step back, I kind of want to find out how you and I found each other. Because all I remember is I was streaming one day, probably one of the most random streams we've ever had. And Bloodstock Fest just jumped in the chat. Just jumped in the chat. And I believe I was doing jumping jacks to Barbie Girl or something was happening.
No, you were flossing. I was
flossing to Barbie Girl.
Then you did the jumping jacks. I'm not sure if that was the same stream. I think it was the stream after. Yeah.
But it kind of blows my mind I've heard the name Bloodstock Festival for a very long time. It's one of the festivals that was on my list. I've never gone to a UK festival, but if I had, it would have been that one. And you guys are building this community on Twitch and being proactive and very active in people's streams when it comes to the metal community and online in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, it's and this is not saying it in any sort of glory sort of way, but it is generally me running it. We have a team of streamers. We have 4 shows a week, and we have different people presenting. But I am generally an online person anyway. I spend my evenings online a lot of the time anyway, just sort of hanging around and chatting. I follow football and obviously with the Bloodstock stuff and things like that. So I'm generally online a lot of the time anyway. So what I've been trying to do is literally just going around and chatting both as Squatter and as Bloodstock Fest. So it gets a little bit sort of I don't know, schizophrenic when I'm chatting as me and Bloodstock Fest in the same room. But
Yeah.
I don't want people to know that a lot of the time. So, but most people realize by now, and it makes it a little bit easier to sort of, you know, to explain to people. You know, if it's Bloodstock Fest chatting, then it's usually me. If it's Bloodstock Fest chatting after a raid, then it might be one of the other presenters. Then you know, but generally it is just to get our name out there, and it's interesting to see when people have heard of us and when people haven't heard of us, because it's like that sort of thing where you're never really sure how big you are around the world, you know. So sometimes you'll go into like one of the big American bands, if they're streaming on there, sometimes you go in and you go hi, and they'll just go, oh hey, Bloodstock Fest, blah blah blah, thanks very much for the like or the follow or whatever. And then they'll just carry on going. Whereas other people, such as yourself, where I would have thought, you know, Dubai might not have heard of us, were like, oh my God, it's Bloodstock Fest. And so it does tend to be a very mixed reaction. Some will just don't know who Bloodstock Fest is. And often it'll be one of the chatters that will say, well, is that the Bloodstock Fest? And then you'll be like, yeah.
I believe that was my reaction. I was like, wait, the Bloodstock Fest? Like, that's the one?
And then the streamer will then sort of like go, you know, if they're not sure, they're like, oh, Bloodstock, is that festival? What are you? And so sometimes you'll find that, you know, you think that someone is, you know, like I say, in a band where you would have thought that maybe they probably would have heard of Bloodstock, but they haven't. And then others where you would think, well, they probably won't know us, and they do. So so it's a bit of a mixed bag really, but yeah, that whole thing of sort of going around and chatting is just trying to get our name out there and just letting people know that we are on Twitch, because obviously we want to try and build our audience.
Absolutely. Derpy, our beautiful mod Derpy has a question. What brought you to the tribe and what made you stay? We'll answer that and then kind of get to know Squad a little better.
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember if I came in via a raid or whether I came in just through looking on the left-hand side in Twitch and just seeing what numbers were about. Sometimes I search on metal or the metal music or music talk or something like that, and then I'll just have a look. Sometimes I just look at what the numbers are. If I'm perfectly honest, I can't 100% remember what brought me in here.
Isn't that crazy?
Kept me in here?
I have the same responses whenever someone says like, how'd you? I can't remember how I met DK. I can't remember how I met Denmark. I can't remember how I met any of these guys.
The thing is that I am such a whore on here, really. I am you know, I'm literally just trying to whore us out all over the place, and as I say, just letting people know that we're about and stuff like that. And you know, if people acknowledge us and it looks like they've got a fair few people in the chat, then I will, you know, I'll follow their channel, and sometimes I'll sub and sometimes I won't. So like, I mean, I would have to, because the thing is that the finances side of things would me. If Bloodstock Fest subscribes, that's me coming out of my pocket. That's not coming out of the festival's pocket. That's coming out of my pocket. But when we get our subscriptions and stuff, that all gets sort of pumped back into the channel. So for me, it's kind of like, because we are a small festival. It might sound like we're a big festival, but we are a family-run festival and we are independent. So where you have like Download Festival, which has Live Nation behind it, and you have other festivals that have big corporations behind it, we don't. We're a family-run organization and we are independent. So the money we have is the money we have, and that's that. And so we are hoping that they're basically giving us some money to get this thing started, and then they want us just to get to the level where it'll just keep ticking itself over. and that's pretty much it, really. So lots of the times I would like to subscribe, but I say I have a limited amount of funds myself. But fortunately, we got so many gift subs, it's ridiculous. And thank you very much to anyone that's ever given either Bloodstock or myself. I get a lot of gift subs as well, which is, there's certainly no need to be gifting me subs, but no, it's very much appreciated. And I say this is just such a great community on here. And I've said this to others before. I think that there's no. I'm not just saying this because I'm on your show. This is genuinely a really great community that you've got on here, and the interactions that you have set up with all fire splash. Come on, everybody, get them going. All that lot for just literally just giving people, all those different bits and bobs that they can do is a really, really good way of doing it. So that's why I stayed.
There you go. There's that fire.
Hey,
Thank you for saying that. It genuinely, I always say this. I get very, what's the word? Mushy. I get mushy when I talk about the tribe. It's just the idea that people from all around the world, regardless of anything that's usually dividing people in this day and age, just a love for some music.
Are you?
The thing is with it is that you've got yourself. The people that I would say that get the mushy side of things, I would say, is yourself, Blank Page. That you can tell that it really does genuinely mean a lot to them, but you're still very, very good at thanking people and accepting it. I think the Brits, in particular, get very, very awkward about people giving them money. They're sort of, please, you don't have to do that. Please don't. No, don't. And they almost want to refund them. It's a very different thing, Twitch, I think. And so when I try to explain it to the people that run the festival, because they're not really online people at all. They know how to run a festival. They're brilliant at running festivals, but this is alien to them completely, which is why I ended up running it. But when I tried to explain to them the concept of bits, I said, they're like tips. Okay, yeah, we can get that. And then I said, and then you got a subscription, and that's like a subscription. That's like you subscribing to it. Yeah, okay, we get that. And then you've got like gift subscriptions where someone is liking something so much that they're willing to pay for other people to watch it as well and to get the benefits that you get with the subscription. And they go, what? What? And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's a Twitch thing, and it is a Twitch thing. It's
and speaking of awkward, when people subscribe, Lisa, thank you so much for that sub with Prime. That means the absolute world to us. But when it comes to gift subs, someone explained it to me the other day. They're like, imagine going into a restaurant or McDonald's and having a burger and going, yo, this burger's so good, I'm paying for every burger in this house.
Yeah, well, I explained it to them like Netflix. I said, you're sitting there watching Netflix on your TV and you think, I really love Netflix. There's so many great things on here. I'll tell you what, I'm going to pay for 5 subscriptions to Netflix. Just going to go out to random people because I like Netflix so much. And they're just like, what? People really genuinely do that? And I'm like, yeah, because the thing is, the difference with this is that when it's people like yourself and people like Blank Page and that lot, that people realize that it's going to go back into the channel. You're not just going to be going and just doing it and just going and spending it or whatever. They can see the amount of effort that you put into your channel and that you put into your it's entertainment. It's interactive entertainment, and that is worth paying for, which is why people pay for it. And why they want others to see it and get the benefits of it as well. So I get it, but it does take a bit of getting your head around, I think, to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. Wicked Cat just said we like the streamer more than Netflix, though. We do it to support them. See, this is the kind of stuff that blows my mind. And how I want to take a step back and kind of go through your path from the very beginning up until now, because Bloodstock started in 2016. And Twitch started for you, yeah, and your Twitch journey started in with the pandemic and stuff. But let's get to know Squatter. When did you first start falling in love with music? When was music even a part of your daily life?
Well, I was born at an early age. No, I'm not going back that far. Don't worry.
It was a Tuesday night.
To be perfectly honest, this was not a musical household. The house that I grew up in was not a musical household, really. I could name some of the albums that my parents had, but I wouldn't want to embarrass them with them because they were awful. So I didn't really have what I would say was any kind of musical upbringing. I've certainly I've got no musical ability, but my brother can get a tune out of anything. My brother can literally play anything, and so, but just by ear. He has no training. He has no, he just can. He can get a tune out of anything. So I've got no real sort of musical ability. And then when I got to, I don't know, my sort of teens, I would guess my mid-teens, I got into sort of like Queen. Queen was probably my, the rock sort of level. And then from there, when I was, what would I have been? 15. When I was 15. My friend gave me the Judas Priest album, Ram It Down. And I was like, what is this? This is amazing. And obviously I'd heard of Judas Priest, and I'd heard of Iron Maiden, I'd heard of Motorhead, but I hadn't really, and then, I knew Ace of Spades, and I knew some of the bigger sort of metal songs, but it just wasn't really, I just wasn't there ready for it yet. And then, as I say, listened to Judas Priest in 1988, and that was it, just off and running. And then it was like, Metallica, and I sort of went into the thrash sort of things, and sort of stayed there really. Thrash is my main thing. Went to my first gig in 1989, Aerosmith.
Nice.
Yeah, supported by Thunder.
Yeah.
It was on November 1989. And then the second band I went to see, which was in December 1989, was Manowar.
Oh wow!
In a really small venue in Manchester, and I couldn't hear for 3 days. I couldn't believe the noise out of it. I genuinely could not hear for 3 days.
They're pretty loud.
Well, I think they were the loudest band in the world at one time, and you could tell because, I say, it was a small venue as well. So it's like, holy hell! It's probably one of them that they wouldn't be allowed to do now because of health and safety. So but yeah, that was that really. And then, as I say, over the next few years, it was sort of growing my hair when I had some. So I did have long hair for a little while, and then yeah, I was into metal for probably a few years, and then when I went away to university in 1991, so only like a few years later, I joined the Rock Society, but I didn't really go to that many. I don't know, I just sort of stopped going, maybe because I was a poor student. I can't even remember why really. I used to listen to the music, but wasn't really going to gigs and stuff.
That was going to be my question is. What was it like back then, especially like, hearing Judas Priest for the first time and going, all right, this is, because there's a thing that happens with metalheads. It stops being the music I listen to, and it becomes like, this is who I am. Like, this is the armor I wear. This is the vest, like Sam Dunn did back in Banger TV's like anthropology approach to the tribe that is the metal tribe kind of thing. What was it like when that switch happened, and how did it translate into a scene for you? Was it more of a scene, or was it like I love this music soul?
It was the music first, and then where I come from is not really. It's only a small seaside town, so it's not really, hasn't got a really big metal scene, and the closest venue to here then probably would have been about 20-30 miles away, and that's only one venue, and then after that it would probably about sort of 50 miles, so it's at least an hour drive or an hour and a half drive that we used to go to gigs. We used to go to gigs in Manchester and Liverpool a lot of the time. So yeah, there was a little scene in the town, and we dressed up. There was one shop in town that had a section that sold metal t-shirts and badges and patches and stuff like that. And so yeah, so I got the t-shirts and that lot, but the record shops and that lot, then I can still remember buying a Rise Sepultura album and literally having to order it in and going down on my lunch break from school to go and pick it up, because it wasn't just on the shelves in the shop. If you wanted metal, you had to order it, so there's a lot of that.
I can relate to that. We had obviously we had a lot of restrictions and a lot of import issues with metal when it comes to the Middle East in general, but I feel like you guys experienced the exact same thing, just like 5-10 years earlier, and then we went through it ourselves kind of 5-10 years earlier. Like everything that happens in the West, even including like the Dirty Dozen and it being satanic and it being censored, all that stuff, we just get it a lot more recent than you guys did. But being that, like, being a metalhead, you have to find the music. It doesn't pop up on the radio. You have to go looking for it. I think that's what makes it makes a lot of metalheads much more passionate about their music than the average listener kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we definitely did. I say there was only maybe one or two record stores in town. One record store, to be fair, would have a few in. They would mainly only have the bigger bands. Like I would say, I can remember some of the albums that I've got, and I've still got them here somewhere. I've got like sort of Rise, I've got Entombed, Left Hand Path, They Could Write the American Way, Slayer, Seasons in the Abyss. Basically anything that came out around about 1989, 1990, they tend to be my favorite bands by those artists, because they were the ones that I was really waiting for to come out and that I played. So by the time I got into metal in 1988, Justice for All had come out and Master of Puppets had come out. So there was already a back catalogue for the likes of Slayer and Metallica and stuff like that. But so it was almost like the next albums that came out after that became my albums and became my favorite albums, if you get.
Yeah. I love the stories of people getting into it. I always feel like there's always going to be a switch or that moment where you realize, like, you know what, this is kind of the shit I'm into. Because you never meet the guy that's like screaming Shaggy. You know what I mean? It's only the guy that's screaming Slayer. There's no one that's like
unless he's a really big Scooby Doo fan. Unless it's that Shaggy, then yeah, absolutely. No one's screaming 50 Cent. No one's screaming Taylor Swift. No one's got carved Taylor Swift on their chest with a knife. Like it's that. The strange thing, thinking back about it now, and I have thought about this over the last few years, was that if you had gone back and told that 15-year-old boy that listened to Ram It Down and heard that first scream on the first song, which is Ram It Down, with Rob Halford doing this huge scream at the beginning of it, if you'd have told him that exactly 30 years later he would be interviewing Judas Priest at Bloodstock Festival, he would have just gone, why?
Exactly.
Why would I be doing that? I have no intention of becoming a music journalist. I've got no intention of going into the music industry. I am going to be a computer programmer, and I am a computer programmer. That's my day job. That's what I do, and that's what I went to university to do, and that's what I've done ever since as a career. This has only ever been a hobby for me and a sideline. So if you'd gone back to that 15-year-old lad and said, hey, guess what? You're going to be interviewing Judas Priest and Megadeth and Sepultura, and I'm just like, what? Why? How does that happen? So yeah, it's very, very odd.
I always, whenever we're diving deep into someone's history or trying to figure out how they became the person they are, I always ask about your first band name or your first nickname or any of that stuff and how it happened, whether it's the best thing, because it's got to be one of two extremes. It's either the best nickname, band name you've ever had, or the worst. And I have to ask about Squatter. What we need the story behind it.
Well, it's not even really, and if it's certainly nothing to do with metal. So it was just a username in chat that I used on just chat sites. I used to chat on AOL football boards and things like that. And then I think I can't remember why, but I just didn't want to chat. The name that I was originally chatted at was close to my real name, and I just thought I just want to go completely away from that. So Squatter Madras, which is the full version of Squatter, is a character in a comedy sketch by British comedians Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. Now they had two versions. So you had Peter Cook and Dudley Moore that were on BBC TV, and they were establishment sort of, quite alternative at the time. But then they had an adult version, which was called Derek and Clive, and that was an X-rated 18 plus.
I've heard that name before. Yeah.
Yeah. So Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. So there's a Peter Cook and Dudley Moore sketch called Squatter and the Ant, and it's basically a colonial guy. So have you heard from Squatter recently? There's a Squatter Madras, and that's it. It's only mentioned like once. Squatter Madras.
And you picked that up once. And ran with it.
And I just thought I quite like the sketch, and I just used that as a chat name. And then when I sort of progressed on a little bit, and ended up being like an internet DJ on some, I don't really want to use the word hillbilly or hick, but it was a hillbilly and hick radio station in the United States. I was chatting as Squatter Madras, so they just called me DJ Squatter. So I was like, okay, that's fine, I'll go with that. So that was it, really. There's no metal reason behind it whatsoever. It was just a chat name that I used, and it just stuck.
So how does the guy that's DJing and on online forums and into Judas Priest and the Die Hard, what's the other the computer programming side? So there's I feel like there's a whole other person on the computer programming side.
Yeah, that's the dull
were you always into that world? Oh, thank you for the party lights, Lars, or the police lights actually.
Yeah.
Were you always into the more IT world? How did you get into that stuff?
Yeah, I always was. When I was, I think, either 8 or 9, I asked for a computer for Christmas. I wanted a Commodore VIC-20. This would have been around about 1981, 82. I wanted a Commodore VIC-20, and my parents, bless them, got me the closest thing they could get me, which was a Commodore 64. And if anyone that knows anything about those old computers, that's the equivalent of asking for like a go-kart and getting a Ferrari. So it's so much the difference between the Commodore VIC-20 and the Commodore 64 was huge. So the Commodore 64 was brilliant, and I used to buy all the computer magazines and type in the programs to do all that. And I just had an interest for it. I just liked it from, I'd say, the age of 9. So I used to sort of like do adventure games, graphical adventure games and stuff like that, and just write sort of bits and bobs with that. And so when I, went through school, and I was quite good at English and that side of things, and there was a lot of people that wanted me to go down there, either become a writer or a teacher or something like that. But I'd always wanted to do the computer side of things. So that's why I went to university and did the computer science, and worked with them ever since. So that's the boring bit, though. That's the day job stuff. You want the metal side.
No, we love the whole well-rounded thing. And also, Lars in the chat just said, funny thing is that Commodore 64 is more capable of doing stuff than your Mac. Hey, Lars, listen, my Mac's holding up all right. And Dan, thank you for that follow. Welcome to the tribe. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what you got going on. But the reason I love like the contrast of the day job kind of stuff, the hobby kind of stuff, the passion and what you do is you speak about computer programming just as passionately as you do about metal. I think it shows that like you're into both of them just as much. When you introduce yourself, is it Squatter the Bloodstock Fest guy, the Bloodstock Fest family member, or is it Squatter the computer programmer?
I'm not sure there's that much difference between them, if I'm perfectly honest. I mean, obviously I suppose I've got a bit of a radio voice, I suppose, that you sort of, try and project a little bit more and stuff like that. But I mean, I do things at work, and I do presentations at work and stuff like that, and we have to do demos to the clients when we're showing them, the systems and the software we created for them. And I've always done that sort of thing as well. So I've never really had a problem speaking publicly or doing talks and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's a line between them really. Not that much really. But yeah, the passion side of things, I guess that for me, the whole reason to go to university is so that you can do a job you like rather than a job you've got to do because you can't do anything else. So that is the whole reason that I do it, because I enjoy my job. I wouldn't be doing it otherwise. So I get paid for something that I enjoy doing, and as a hobby, I get to do something that I enjoy doing as well. So yeah, best of both worlds.
Yeah, I see that there are not a lot of people are as lucky, including myself. There's a bunch of times in my life where I was like, I kind of gotta do this. Or I know a lot of people that to this day, 18 years down the line in the same job, they're like, I just gotta do it. So I think that self-awareness and confidence in like, I like this, I'm gonna chase it. Early on, especially early on in life, the fact that you went to uni for it and joined the workforce in something that you actually have some interest towards is pretty fucking powerful. Not a lot of people get to say that they immediately knew what they liked and what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, my son's at university now. He's just done the first year, and possibly the worst first year you could choose to go to university. But he also knew what he wanted to do. But I was surprised because I think at that age, I think most of my other friends knew what they wanted to do pretty much as well. But he was finding that when he went off to university, a lot of his friends were just going to look at university and going to go and pick a course when they got there. They had no real idea what they wanted to do. And I'm just like, wow, because I've never had that. I've always just thought I'd quite like to be into computers. I was all right at it, was quite good at doing it. So I thought, yep, I'll do that. My son wants to be a sports journalist. He's always wanted to write, he's written match reports since he was a kid. He's commentated on games when he was like 6 years old and stuff like that. So he's always wanted to do that. So I think it's just different strokes for different folks. Some people just don't find that direction that they want to latch onto, and some people do. So I don't think there's no right or wrong way about it. I don't know about luck. I think it's just it kind of helps, I guess. But I've also equally known people that have gone to university. Like I've got a friend that went to university, did a law degree, got a first-class law degree, but by the end of the degree, decided they didn't actually want to become a lawyer. They did when they went into university, and then when they came out, they're like, actually, I don't really want to do that. So they did a nursing degree and became a nurse instead. And it's just like, well, it's never too late to kind of change your direction, I suppose. So that sort of vocation in life is not necessarily a lifelong one.
Yeah, absolutely. And the chat agrees. Fawaz is saying, unfortunately, got a degree to do stuff that we didn't like, so I quit and started doing music full time, teaching, recording, sessioning. Fawaz, for those that don't know, is from the Saudi Arabian grindcore band Creative Waste, one of the OGs of the Middle Eastern metal scene. And Rexter saying, teaching you programming was and still is on our to-do list since 2 years now, and I'm still waiting from Rexter. Rexter, listen, I got like a C++ book, and I still don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So that it's gonna be a while, Rexter, before we could do that. Literally the best advice ever. Go to uni for what you want to do. How did I get that wrong? From Dan. You're not the only one, Dan. You're not the only one. I think, like Squatter was saying, it's not necessarily luck, but I think I always love to get hippy dippy with it and like dive into confidence and more self-awareness and stuff like that. If you just knew exactly what you wanted, I think that's content.
No,
if you're just content with that shit.
She wasn't ready.
She's never ready, Rexter. She's absolutely never ready. I feel that I have a degree in graphic design, but now I'm a makeup artist. How do you feel that you have a degree? I think
they were saying I feel that based on what I said.
Oh,
I feel that.
Grammar, Sandy, please put a comma. I feel that I have a degree in graphic design, but now I'm a makeup artist and I scream in a band. Yeah, absolutely. I feel that, comma. There you go, Sandy. Sorry. I feel that I have a degree. I was like, Lisa, thank you for the fire. But yeah, it's always very curious to me, especially because I grew up in a place that didn't have festivals and shows. Like I mentioned Shaggy for a reason, because my first ever show going to a live experience was when Shaggy flew to Doha, Qatar. And for those that don't know, Doha, Qatar is one of the smallest countries in the world, and played the first ever show, like open air show there. And all us metalheads swamped that place and pretended like it was a metal band. Like we were moshing to It Wasn't Me. Like we had nothing else that was a live experience with speakers and we could feel the bass. So we all just rocked up there. Lengo 213 and all the guys Bragner from back in the day. We were all there and people thought we were fighting, so they kicked us out eventually. But what was growing up like? What was your introduction to festivals and the live experience in general? What was your first love when it came to that stuff?
My first festival was Bloodstock, I think. Just trying to think now. Was it? No, it wasn't. No, I went to Download for a couple of years before. That's right. I went to smaller ones first. So I just to fill in the gaps a little bit. So when I was doing the radio shows for foreign, like American rock stations, I came out of that for a little while, and then I found a UK station that were looking for DJs, and I thought, yeah, I'd quite fancy having a go at that. So I joined them, and they focus very much on the up and coming bands. So that was 2013, and 2013 I started going to loads of like lower down, smaller bands, smaller gigs, and smaller little sort of all-day festivals or weekenders or things like that. So they weren't necessarily camping, weren't necessarily overnighters. They would just be, you know, 1 days, and then it was just smaller ones like that. And then I went to download a few times, but I didn't camp because I lived close enough to be able to drive backwards and forwards, and I didn't really fancy the idea of camping. Download was the site was just massive and enormous, and everyone went on, and still do actually, go on about the amount of distance between the campsites and the stages and the arena. So yeah, I didn't. So the first festival I camped at was Bloodstock, and yeah, that was 2013. So even though, you know, Bloodstock's been going since 2001, I only went to Bloodstock for the first time in 2013, and by 2016 I was working for them. So
wow. And how? Let's talk a little bit about how that happened. You were there as a fan, purely a computer programmer by day. You were on forums, you DJ'd at night, and you go to this festival. What happened in those 3 years that some of the festival heads just went, hey man, we want you to interview some people. How did that happen?
Well, it was, let me think. It was, so I was doing a weekly show on this radio station, and I say we covered a lot of up and coming bands. And I did that for sort of a couple of years. I went to Bloodstock for the first time that year, but it was only because my favorite band is this thrash band called Zentrix, were playing that year. I'd sort of seen the lineup before, I think. I was aware of Bloodstock, but I'd just not really fancied it. And I'd been to download a few times. And it's mad looking back at it now, because I look back at some of those lineups and I'm thinking, those bands, when I went to download in I went to download in 2010, 2011, 2012, something like that. But when I look at the Bloodstock lineups that year, they were so much more suited to me. But for whatever reason, I just didn't see them. I just don't remember seeing them. And so the first year I went was because my favorite band Zentrix were playing, and there's the mad story with that. So the first mad story of the evening. So Zentrix were a thrash band around 1988, 1989. And me and my mate Martin, my best mate, absolutely loved them. We used to go and watch them all over the place. And they were only about 3 or 4 years older than us. So we used to absolutely love them. And then when thrash died and grunge took over in 1992, they just stopped. They did another album later on with a different singer, but it wasn't really that great. So they just literally just packed it in. And then when all these bands started coming back and they started doing, you know, these little sort of mini festivals that we have over here, and you get a lot of the older bands would come and start playing them. We were constantly trying to get in touch with Zentrix to say, please come back. So that February 2013, I can still remember, it's like President Kennedy. I got a text as I was going through McDonald's drive-through. Martin said, oh my God, Zentrix are back. And they'd announced that they were doing some gigs with Eval supporting them, and they were supporting Creator. So it was Eval, Zentrix, Creator doing 3 gigs in the April. And I was just like, wow, oh my God, I can't believe Zentrix are back. Just amazing. So I immediately get on Facebook and I start following all their stuff and say, oh, I can't believe you're back. Great, stuff like that. So turns out that they're doing a warm-up gig up in Bolton, which is quite a few hours north of where I lived at the time. And that weekend, I was going and visiting a friend down in the south of England. So I ended up coming back from my friends, going to the gig, driving an awful long way to go and see just this warm-up gig in a pub. And as the band went to go on stage, the bass player went, oh, there's our Facebook stalker. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, what does that mean? So they went on and they played, and I'm thinking, all the way through, I'm thinking, is that a good thing or a bad thing? So I was like, all right. So anyway, I went and had a chat with them afterwards, and they were like, oh, thanks so much for following everything. I had a bit of a chat with them, and then drove back home again at, midnight, drove back another 4 hours, and then got in at like 3 a.m, and then went to work at 9 a.m, because that's the sort of thing that I do. So I'd done that, and then over the next few months, I'd interviewed them a couple of times remotely for the radio station. So that was quite cool. And then when they got announced for the festival, me and my mate Martin were like, right, well, we'll go to the festival then. Martin talked me into camping. I wasn't that keen on camping, but we went. So we went, and as we'd just seen Death Angel, and we were going to go back to our tent, we were walking back. We both had our Zentrix t-shirts on. And as we're walking past, I hear someone shouting my name. And Martin's just sort of like, how do you know people here? And it's the lead singer of Zentrix running over. and he's going, "Hey, how you doing?" like that. And Martin's face is like that.
Yeah.
How do you know Chris Astley? Just looking at him like that. And I just
Yeah.
like, "Hi, Chris. Yeah, this is Martin," and that. So I say, "Yeah, how you doing?" All right. And he's talking. He's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I'm always nervous when we go on stage, but obviously it's Bloodstock and stuff like that." And we're chatting, and I keep on sort of talking to him, but I'm looking over at Martin, who's like, "What is happening here?" So, so he went off and he said, "How do you know Chris Astley?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't know." "How have you interviewed him?" And I was like, "I just have for the radio show." And he was like, "Oh right, I thought you were just interviewing like little bands." I was like, "Yeah, I am mostly, but Zentrix is Zentrix, so yeah, I've interviewed him a couple times." And he was just like, "Oh my god!" So the first festival I went to, the lead singer of my favourite band comes running over and says hello to me. So that was, you know,
just
absolutely
completely
proper
mind
head
blown.
blowing.
Yeah.
And now I'm really good mates with them, best mates with Zentrix. I got invited to their guitarist's 50th birthday party last year, where all three singers of the band that they've ever had got photographed with them and stuff like that. And I'm just mates with them now. And it's really weird being mates with a band that at 18 I absolutely idolized, looking up at them on stage. And now it's just sort of like, "Hey, dude, you're right." It's weird.
I wanna dive into that a little bit. That idea of interviewing, like you were saying, you know, Judas Priest, Dave Mustaine, all that stuff, in just a little bit, because just interviewing your favorite people, whether musicians, artists, or content creators, anything in general, is very, very new to me. And the fact that I started this thing where it started with, like, you know, interviewing my friends at first, like, "Hey man, tell me about your band," even though I was there when you started. But like that transaction of information started happening, and then the show started growing and things started happening. Rexter, thank you for the police lights. It definitely changes some stuff. Like, how was it for you knowing that, you know, one of your favorite bands is coming on your radio show, and you get to talk to them, and like we were talking about in the last episode with Bees, once you have that interaction, it's kind of, you know, each other. There's, after a couple of from minutes to hours talking, you've created this bond, this unique bond with someone. What was your preparation for the first time you're going to interview a band that you genuinely looked up to?
Yeah, I think I sort of cheated a little bit to start off with, because the first interview I actually did was with a band, and I can see that their lead singer at the moment is streaming with 1,500 people watching. Yeah.
Oh shit.
So he's a streamer on here called Beardageddon, and he streams Sea of Thieves. Don't go and watch him now, people. Stay here. Yeah, he streams a game called Sea of Thieves, and he was in a band called Kaidecker. And I interviewed them at one of these little mini festivals because I knew them. They were mates, and I knew pretty much everything I needed to know about the band. So I thought, I'll just have a conversation with them. I'll just have a chat with them, because I talk to them about music all the time. And I talk to them, you know, when's your album coming out? So I did that because they were friends, and I knew I could just talk to them, and there was nothing scary about it whatsoever. And then once I did that, then I started doing that as well. Bands that I'd sort of got to be friends with, I'd interviewed them first. So when we got asked to do Bloodstock in 2016, at that point, the biggest interview that I'd done before Bloodstock was with Blackie Lawless from Wasp, and that was over the phone.
Pretty fucking big.
Yeah, and that was over a mobile phone. But below that, it was all just small bands. You know, Blackie Lawless was just a one-off, and it was a one thing. So when we got asked to do Bloodstock 2 weeks before the festival, we were told it was just carry on doing what you're doing, because I'd been interviewing Metal to the Masses bands for my radio show, for the radio show that I've been doing. So Metal to the Masses is Bloodstock's commitment to the grassroots. So it is a competition. We don't really like the word competition, but it is. Almost like a battle of the bands. We don't like that phrase either, but it is. And there's basically regional heats, and then they get through to a final, and then a Bloodstock representative will go and attend that final and pick a band to come and play on the New Blood stage. So when I first got into Bloodstock 2013, that would probably been about 20 bands. We're now up to about 30. We have Metal to the Masses all up and down the UK. We have one in Dublin in Ireland. We have one in Norway, and we sometimes have one in Poland. every other year or so. And that is now up to about 30 sort of bands. Obviously, we can't do it this year, and obviously with the news that we literally had this week as well, we can't even do what we were planning to do. So, long story short, but the Metal to the Masses thing was all about the underground and all about bands coming up. So I had covered the Metal to the Masses London for a mate of mine, because I'd been to quite a few of the shows because I'd known the bands because I played them on the radio. And then I got chatting to the promoter down there, a guy called Mick Wood, and he asked me to cover the London Metal to the Masses on my radio show, which was nothing to do with Bloodstock. He just wanted to just promote his thing. And through that's how I got to know the Bloodstock people, just from covering one of their Metal to the Masses events. But London, obviously being London, was a big one. About 60 bands usually involved, and it usually started in November, and there were probably about 20 heats altogether to get people through to 6 to play in the final. To get the chance of playing at Bloodstock. So that was how that came about. So when I'd mainly interviewed all the little up and coming bands that were playing on the New Blood stage, and then when I got asked to interview, if you want to come and do some interviews, video interviews. So I'd never done video interviews before. These had all been audio for the radio. So 2 weeks before, Simon Hall, who runs the Metal to the Masses, had heard of me, said, "Do you fancy coming and doing some video interviews at Bloodstock?" And I was like, "Yeah." He says, "Yeah." So we want to call it Bloodstock TV, and we've heard your radio show. We'd quite like you to do it. And I'm like, "Yeah, okay. So what do you want me to do then?" He says, just interview some bands. Just do what you do. He says, "It'll mainly be Metal to the Masses bands, New Blood." I was like, "Okay, cool." So he put me in touch.
Was Bloodstock TV before Bloodstock podcast?
Yeah, but only just before. Yeah, only just.
Yeah.
So that was what I was invited to do first of all. I asked if I could do the podcast because Bloodstock TV is 4 days a year, and the thing that I had done throughout the radio show that I've been doing for 3.5 years was that I had promoted so many up and coming bands and gone to their gigs, and I'd got all their t-shirts. I've still got here now. I must have 100 and 150 t-shirts of bands you've never heard of, pretty much. Yeah. So, in fact, I've got one here. Hang on 2 seconds.
Uh-oh. Oh shit!
So yeah.
Oh snap! Let's see that in its full glory.
Ones you've never heard of.
Woo! Badassery.
that worked out quite well, didn't it?
That was fucking awesome. Hell yeah!
Thank you very much. So I used to go and support these bands, and then when I got asked to go and do Bloodstock TV. The interviews. The guy that ran the radio station was a bit of a dick about it, and he had a bit of a bee in his bonnet about Bloodstock, and he had this crazy idea. He was very, very paranoid, thought that they were somehow trying to undermine the station and trying to steal me from the station. And I'm just like, no, this is a good thing. I stay at the station and I do Bloodstock. And he didn't see it, so we parted ways, and we decided that was that. So I was going to do Bloodstock. So then I don't have my radio show anymore. I have 4 days of interviews and that's it. So I was like, well, can I do a radio show for you as well and do like a podcast, because I want to carry on promoting these bands. I want to still get their music out there and do all that. So that was that. That was how that sort of came about, and how the podcast came out of it as well. But just going back to your actual question that you asked about 20 minutes ago before I started talking. About the bigger bands, when we first started, we got told we were just going to be interviewing the Metal to the Masses band. So he put us in touch with the PR, Cosa Nostra PR, Kirsten and Michelle, amazing people that run the PR at Bloodstock. And the first email addresses they sent us to get in contact with were Anthrax and Behemoth. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So I was like, okie dokie then. And I'm a massive Anthrax fan, and my camera guy, Toph, is a massive Behemoth fan. So both of us were like, oh shit. So that's when we suddenly realized, and this is like weeks before the festival. So we're just like, okay, right. And I know nothing about, I knew a little bit about concept. See, because it was the radio station, everyone used to contact the radio station, and then the interviews for there would get thinking out. I'd done a little bit of it myself, but it was generally going to the band because they didn't have PR. You just go straight to the band and say, do you want to do an interview? And they go, yeah. But when you've got Behemoth and Anthrax, that's not the way it works. I can't just, take a message to Scott Ian or Charlie Benanti and say, hey, do you fancy doing an interview? So obviously I had no idea about how that worked, but we had like 2 weeks to organize some interviews. So I said, well, who do you want me to interview? And they said, just interview as many bands as you can. I was like, okay, cool. So we interviewed 78 bands.
78?
Yeah. I got a little bit carried away.
That's almost the entire season 1 of Unmuted. That's the whole thing.
Well, there was at the time there was 119 bands playing across the whole festival. So I interviewed 78.
Wow.
And the reason I did it was because by the time we went, I had 50 bands booked. And even that, now, sitting here now, I'm like, what were you thinking? That's way too many. But when we went, I had 50 bands booked, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's okay, I can do that. And then when we got there, you then get PRs going, oh, can you squeeze this band in, please? And you've got these young lads that have just played Bloodstock Festival, all looking all like, these interviewers, no one wants to interview us. Yeah, come on then, you can come on, yeah, like that. So my voice was wrecked because I didn't think about that. Because I'm not thinking about doing interviews for 3 days solid where you're at a festival, so you've always got that sort of background noise, and you've got to pitch your voice just above it. And my voice is gone completely. So by the Sunday, I was wrecked. But we interviewed 78 bands, which was stupid.
Without trying to pitch your voice right and be clear and actually clear-minded and ask people questions, just being backstage at a festival for a day. People need at least a couple of Pandols and lose their voice. I can't believe you did that for 3 days straight for 78 bands. That's
it was
crazy.
It really was ridiculous. And as I say, we look back at them now because they didn't use all of them. Because the one thing I didn't think as well, I need to give a big shout out to Topher here. So again, Topher's my camera guy. He also helps me out with Bloodstock Twitch as well. And he again came in last minute. The only reason I asked him because I knew he did photography. What I didn't know is that he's actually a videographer properly. He did it at university and stuff like that. So he was the perfect person to ask. And I knew he was going to Bloodstock anyway. So I knew he had the time off work booked and all that. So 2 weeks before, I was like, so do you want to come and do these video interviews with me? And he was like, yeah. So all we had was his camera on a tripod. And the only instruction I got from Bloodstock was, we only want interviewee only. We don't want you on the camera, which I thought was a good idea. I was like, yeah, that's fine with me. So I'm standing off camera, talking to people and interviewing them. But what I wasn't thinking was when I'm going, yeah, come on. What I wasn't thinking is he's got to edit all of them. So I'm going, I've done my bit. I've done my 5-minute interview with them. That's great, brilliant. And then all of a sudden you've got 78 interviews to edit.
We got Julian just picked up some merch. Thank you so much, Julian. Sorry for cutting you off there. Julian just what's it called? He summoned Moshing Mustafa with buying some merch. Thank you. The absolute thank you for the follow.
Got off a mug because of a mug.
Got cut off the mug because of the mug, and the absolute hit follow. Sir Edmund Black subscribed at tier 2 for 7 months. Sir Edmund Black, you're a fucking madman. Thank you so much, my brother.
Sir Edmund Black is one of the reasons I stayed in your channel, by the way, because I did not know at the time that he was from Blackium. And then when I mentioned about Bloodstock, and he said, oh, my band have played. And I said, what's your band? He said, Blackium. So, oh, yeah, I remember you guys. And I'd met them, and I chatted to them, and I'd done all that. So that was when I knew I was in the right place.
Absolutely. The Sir Edmund Black and his brother, Lord Zeppelin on Twitch are fucking badasses. And I appreciate everything they've done for the channel and for the fucking Middle Eastern metal scene in general. These guys have been around forever. /086, thank you for hitting that follow. Welcome to the tribe. You guys are fucking amazing. But speaking of a mug, to cut off that mug, I recently heard something that completely that broke me. It just broke me. Someone came into the chat and said, you have a face for radio.
Yeah. That's what I've always said. I've always said I have a face for radio.
The second I heard that, I was like, dude, I feel like Squatter would go into a channel and say that. Someone like, that's the kind of humor that we can pick up on.
Yeah, face for radio. That's quite a common saying over here in the UK, but I've used it a lot. The weird thing is, No, I think that the weirdest thing of it is that things I don't really get used to. My girlfriend, when I first took my girlfriend to a gig, it was a band called Evil Scarecrow that are playing Bloodstock this year on Sunday night. Absolutely amazing fun. I don't know if you've ever played them on the channel, but you should. And while we were standing waiting for the band to come on, there was two people standing in front of us, and they keep looking back at us. And then one of them said to me, "Did you do the interview for Bloodstock?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They went, "Oh yeah, I thought you did." And I had to say to my girlfriend, I haven't paid them to say that. That's literally just random that they recognised me somehow. And being recognised is odd. And then the weirdest one was when I was at another little mini festival called Hammerfest in Wales, and I'm standing there chatting, and someone was standing with their back to me, having a conversation with someone else, and they just turned around and they said, "Do you do Bloodstock Radio?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They said, "Oh, I thought I recognised your voice." I'm like, "Whoa, recognise my voice?
Yeah.
What?" And that was weird. So it is a strange thing at times.
It is really fucking strange. Before I say this, an anonymous just ordered his Vingali t-shirt and Jack Daniels Conquer and unmuted tank top from the merch store. Anonymous, whoever you are, let us know who you are. Come on, don't be weird. But thank you. I genuinely appreciate it. Genuinely appreciate everyone rocking that merch. But yeah, it's crazy because I've been in a band for at least for Svengali since 2015. We've been playing a bunch of shows. At least in the Middle Eastern scene, we've started building up a bit of a name. And last Thursday, I went out with a bunch of my friends. The first time in a fucking year that we went to a rock bar, and we were actually surrounded by a bunch of metalheads listening to music at a bar and ordering shots and drinking beer and everything. Someone walked up to me and said, "Yo, aren't you the guy from Unmuted?" And I was like, "God damn, this pretty, yeah, I am. That's pretty cool." And he's like, "Yeah, I heard you had a band as well." And I was like, "It was never this way around before. It was never this way around."
Yeah, so, I should imagine that Matt Heafy is finding exactly the same thing, to be honest.
It was pretty fucking crazy. I found it hilarious. I was just at the actual bar, and Sandy Sen was there. Yeah, I was hanging out with you, exactly. Oh shit, it's Squatter, Sturge Base. What's going on?
Oh shit, it's Sturge. Oh shit, it's Sturge.
Oh shit, it's Sturge.
I interviewed Sturge's band in 2016, but I can't remember if he was there. I think he was, but and that probably would have been towards the Sunday. So the band Brutai that he was in, we interviewed in because I say we interviewed 78 of the bands. Pretty sure his was one of them.
But this is the thing. For me, for example, I've done 100 episodes. It wasn't 100 different guests, but let's say it was at least 90 different guests, right? Over the span of a year. And I've started to learn not only more about my guests, but about myself. You and I have had this conversation off stream where kind of you start to have this weird stride about yourself after you've interviewed a bunch of people. 78 in 3 days. I feel like confidence and kind of the interview skills, the pace, all that stuff would turn up a notch, to say the least, right?
Well, it was the funniest one was on the Sunday, because obviously 78 bands. I had not researched 78 bands, so looking back on some of those interviews now, they were very poor in content. They were not great. A lot of the time, I was actually listening into the person being interviewed before me, the interview that they were doing with someone else, listening in for snippets of information that I could try and use in our interview. So they weren't very good interviews. That's the first thing to say. And there were very few bands that I actually knew that year where I was able to talk things. So they were quite generic chats, really. So they weren't great, is what I'm saying. But when we got that, so I was basically blagging it. I was winging it, a lot of it. And then when we got to the Sunday and Satyricon, we had Satyricon, and I was interviewing Satyr. And I said to one of the guys in the press stand before, I said, "Has anyone interviewed Satyr before? Any information I could get, I was just trying to find out." And he said, "Oh yeah, he's quite a serious guy. So don't be joking around with him." All right, great. that's my approach gone then. So we went and we had to set up. We used to have a bus Gibson used to provide an air-conditioned bus, and it was great. It was great to sit in because it was the only air-conditioned place on site. So when it's hot, it was great. But for filming, it wasn't brilliant. It was quite a tight little space for us to get the camera in and stuff like that. So anyway, we're setting up for Satir, and the PR person that's looking after them said, "You have got 5 minutes with him, and that is it. And then he'll be with you in a minute." So we're setting up. I closed the door over, and I said to Toph, and this is on the Sunday afternoon now. We've been there since the Friday. I've done 3 days. I said to him, "I think this is where the wheels are going to fall off here because I don't know the first thing about this band, and I've been told he's quite a serious guy, and I don't think this one's going to go very well." I said, the key thing to remember is these are not live, and we choose whether we put them out or not. So if it goes badly, we just say, "Sorry, didn't record properly," or whatever. We didn't. Bloodstock hadn't given us a list and said you need to interview those bands. It was just whichever ones. So I said, "Okay." So he came in and he sat down. I introduced myself, and we talked for 13 minutes. And throughout, every time I asked him something, he had a bit of a think, and then he answered. We talked about. All I knew was that they were a Norwegian black metal band. That was it. I didn't know anything else about the band. But we talked about how difficult it was to play black. Did black metal really work at festivals? Was it better indoors? Was it better outdoors? We talked about the up-and-coming scene in Norway because, as I mentioned before, we had a Metal to the Masses in Norway. I managed to remember a couple of the bands that had come from Norway, and I mentioned them, so I name-dropped some of them. Turns out that they are very big at supporting up-and-coming bands, and they often pay for recording studios for them and things like that, and actually try to help the scene coming up. I didn't know that, but just through conversation, I got that. 13 minutes later, we stopped filming. He shook my hand and he said, "Thank you very much. I really enjoyed that." He went out, closed the door. Toph turned to me and went, "Fuck me, you're good at this." And I just talked to the guy. That was it. I just
and
talked
you
to
absolutely are. You know, one of the other things I love when I was poking around, checking out all the interviews and stuff, is that you ask some questions that that not a lot of people are willing to ask. And I'll give you an example, and we have a clip of this. Is who would ask Dave Mustaine how you told him to his face that he has a reputation of being a dick, basically. You went up to Dave Mustaine, you're like, "You have a reputation of being hard to work with." Let me play this clip real quick for everyone that hasn't seen it, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
You sometimes have a bit of a reputation of being not the easiest guy to get on with sometimes, but you guys have always been so keen to relate to the fans. I mean, the boot camp thing, for example, was just sounded amazing. It sounded absolutely incredible.
So, and then you try and weigh out what you just said versus what the facts are, and you realize that reputations are what you hear before, and character is what remains.
Yes.
And the people that meet me after they've heard the stuff that you usually hear, it's the same stuff. Dave's hard to get along with. He's this, he's that. You know, if I'm busy, man, it's not that I don't like you. I'm just busy. Yeah. You know, and if I tell you go fuck yourself, that means I don't like you. It's a pretty good indication.
Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully we won't get to that. But
we're good.
Okay, cool. So yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, not a lot. You have to have a lot of experience and feel very comfortable before you can ask Dave Mustaine that question.
No, not at all. I had that in the back of my head. I thought to myself, I'll bet he never gets asked that. You know, I bet no one has the balls to actually ask him that. So I had it in the back of my head. Again, with Dave Mustaine, the background to that was that they were headlining for us on the Sunday night. So I'd been doing interviews all weekend. So it was our Sunday night headliner. And we had a time slot for him, and I was fine. We had to go backstage. That was backstage in one of the porta cabins. One of the headliners will get porta cabins and that. So literally, we packed up all the gear and we got backstage, and then there was a delay. So the previous interview overran by about 25 minutes. When we first went back, I was fine, not nervous at all. By the time I'd been standing there for 25 minutes, I was quite nervous going in there. So we went in and setting up the cameras and that sort of thing. And I'm sitting down. And Dave Mustaine comes in. "Hey, how you doing?" Shakes my hand, sits down. I'm like, "That's Dave Mustaine." So I just sat down. So you may have noticed on the clip, one of the things that I'd done in the press tent was we all had, I'd brought name badges. My name is. So I had "My name is Squatter" on my shirt. And Dave Mustaine goes, where'd Squatter come from? What's that? So I told him the story I just told you guys earlier. I'm telling that. And I can see out the corner of my eye, and Toph is setting up the camera, giggling. thinking, and he said to me afterwards, I'm thinking, this is so fucking weird. Dave Mustaine's asking Squatter where his name comes from. This is fucking odd, you know. So I had the way that I do my interviews is that I just have facts. I don't have a list of questions. I just have facts dotted around, and then I jump from one to the other because it makes it flow better. And I choose one to start with, and then if the conversation goes in that direction, then I'll jump to it. And all the way through, I was just kind of thinking, if I get the chance to ask it, I will ask it. And the conversation leading up to that was about their interaction with fans and talking about doing live streams and stuff like that. So I thought, if I do it as half compliment as I did, I sort of said, you've got a reputation of being hard to work with, and yet you do all this fan stuff. But if you watch it again, the look on his face when I said, you've got a reputation of being hard, he sort of goes, is it? What
I
you
saw
really
that
just say
word.
that?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And it's
listen,
and then he ignores the second half of it and goes, well, what you just said about reputation, and he goes back to it. Just like, hang on a minute, let me sort that out. And I'm like, yeah, that's what you want. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, like everyone in the chat saying, even Julian's like, I'd ask anything to anyone, but that one was a risk.
It was a risk. It was.
Dan says that took some stones. Great answer, though. Absolutely, it was a very well put answer.
And you will notice at the end, Dave Mustaine said to me, "We're good." Me and Dave Mustaine, we're good.
You always have that. You always have that. And I think that's the craziest things about like I was saying, when you interview people and you have that connection, like you could rock up and say like, yo, we did an interview together back in which was actually a question from Sir Edmund Black. Was that in 2017?
Yes.
Sir Edmund Black is asking. Yeah, it was. We did an interview together back in 2017, and most of the time, most people remember the people that interviewed them. It's just you build this connection and stuff. But we have a question from the tribe. What was your worst? Oh shit! I Adnan'd this moment in an interview so far.
Wow.
By the way, wait. Before you answer this, you guys, listen. I Adnan'd it is not a thing anymore. We're scrapping that. You guys can't say I Adnan'd it whenever you fuck up. It's mean. It hurts my feelings. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I've got a couple of examples of where I had things in the back of my head, similar to Dave Mustaine, where I thought, if that opportunity arises, I will ask it, because I think it's something that I can ask that they won't have been asked before, because it pertained to me. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. But the one where I'd really properly lost it was with Alyssa from Arch Enemy. So, and I didn't even realize that I'd done it at all. We recorded the interview. It was on the bus. We recorded it and it was fine. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks later, when Toph was doing the editing, he was like, holy shit, do you remember what you said to Alyssa? And I'm like, no. And he went, seriously? And he sent me over this clip that you're about to run now.
You guys are going to be our special guests for warming up Megadeth. So are you excited about that?
Yeah, of course. This is actually the last show on our tour that we're on right now, so we're just like ending with a bang.
Yes, absolutely. A bang would be good.
Yeah.
I think it's Sunday.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously Sunday we've all been partying for like 3 or 4 days already, so you guys have got to give us the energy to just kind of keep on going and stuff like that. So
I'm just like blah 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 blah.
Just save it.
Literally, I literally just. The thing is with Alyssa is that I don't know how to say this without sounding odd. I don't really get, when someone says that someone's like, oh, she's stunning, she's amazingly attractive, she's just a beautiful, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Never really got this, even with celebrities and stuff like that. I used to do security work, and I did security for Kylie Minogue once, and saw her after the show with no makeup on, and I was knocked out. I was like, I can't believe she's good. She's that good looking. That's quite rare for me to actually do that. Yeah. So there was that. Then there was Alyssa, and with Alyssa, it was exactly the same again. I was like, no, she's a very, very pretty. She's a beautiful woman. She is like, So throughout that interview, the majority of the talking was done by Michael. Yeah. But the conversation that's going on in my head is I'm looking past Alyssa, because you can see she's holding the microphone. I'm looking past Alyssa, And the conversation that's going on in my head is, she wasn't that good looking. She's really not that. And then I glance at her. Yes, she is. It was literally just like, I just need to check while he's talking there. Just my mind's going, nah, she wasn't that good. Yeah, she is. So I'd already had that experience. So then to see that coming back again was like, oh my God, did I say that? So the reason I left that little clip at the end of it is because I'm literally just going blah, 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 Boris Johnson style, because I was completely and utterly flustered by that. But I completely forgot it. By the end of the interview, I'd forgotten it and didn't get it until the editing.
You know the beauty of that clip is that now we have Tribe. Wait, where are you? Get over here. Tribe. Now we have the sentence we're going to raid with. A bang would be good.
Yeah, that's good. But the thing is that the person that we're going to raid, Stan, that's doing our show tonight, I'll tell you a bit about him in a minute as well. He'll know exactly what that means, because he constantly ribs me about it. Stan knows everything. Stan knows everything about Bloodstock. So while we're talking about the interviews, we get these other couple out of the way. So the first one, Nurgle from Behemoth, that was the first year that we've done it. And again, black metal, Behemoth, that is not my scene. Didn't really know anything about them whatsoever. Listened to a bit of the conversation and read the write-up about Behemoth in the festival program. And I'd seen something saying that he'd had leukemia. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I had leukemia when I was 13. So I had also recovered from leukemia. And I thought to myself, I should definitely ask him about that, because that's unique. There's not many interviewers that are going to have had and survived leukemia to be able to ask him something from a personal point of view, because asking someone about a life-threatening illness is quite a difficult thing to do unless you've had it yourself. That makes it easier.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So again, I'm sort of halfway through. My camera guy is a massive Behemoth fan. He's wearing the t-shirt. Said to him, what can I ask him? And he's just like, oh, I don't know. And he's getting all starstruck because Nurgle stood there. So anyway, we literally, oh yeah, let's see, here's Terry. Squatter asked, who the hell is Nurgle, when Nurgle was stood next to us? He's just said in chat. I don't think I did say that. I don't quite think that, but possibly. I probably could have done it because there were so many that year. But again, when I asked him, the answer that I got really sort of knocked me off my feet. So go for that.
Yeah, but before I play that clip, I wanna tell you, right after this clip of you asking Nurgle that question, I want to ask you the same question. I want you to immediately answer. How has your life changed after surviving?
You just told everyone what the question is. Well done.
Well, listen. I haven't done 78 interviews in 3 days.
Listen. But Derpy is completely correct. Stop ruining the clips, man.
Yeah, all right, here we go, you guys. Here we go.
About your illness earlier on, you survived an illness that I myself have also survived as well, because I was also a leukemia sufferer when I was a teenager.
Congratulations for that.
So we were both survivors of it. And that. How do you think that's changed your outlook on life? Do you think it's changed your outlook in your writing and your music?
I'm just more, I'm more aware of what's happening around. I can actually notice there's birds flying there, and they're pretty fucking epic and beautiful. So that's it,
Yeah.
And when you see me performing, I've never been so I'm really there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm in the music.
Yeah.
I'm more present, and I live the moment.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good. Well, we're all looking forward to seeing you tonight.
Cheers.
I think it's going to be an amazing performance. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope it goes really well. And thanks for talking to us.
I will love it.
TV.
Thank you so much again. You take care, right?
That was a beautiful question, even though I fucking ruined it for you guys. That was a beautiful question and a beautiful answer. Your relation to it brought all of it to the table. So for you, what has changed in your life surviving it?
Well, I was 13, so it's different, I think. I grew up very quickly. I became, I think, a little more, I don't know, carefree, I would guess. There's not a lot stresses me. I don't get stressed very often, but that's been a downside. It's a plus in most situations, but it's been a downside. I've messed up exams because I didn't really. Sometimes you need to get stressed about things. You need to give yourself a kick up the arse to make sure that you do the work and stuff like that. And I didn't, and sometimes I still don't, because it's all about, health is more important, and you do all that. So that would be the major change, I think. But as I say, I was 13, and there was because I was quite a mature 13-year-old. They weren't sure whether they were going to put me in a children's hospital or an adult's hospital. So I ended up going to a children's hospital, Alder Hey Hospital in Liverpool, which is the biggest children's hospital in Europe, I think, or it's the longest corridor in something like that. Anyway, but it's an amazing hospital in Liverpool, which is where I was born. So I was going back to where I was born and things like that. So I was quite all right about it, and I sort of helped the kids through it. And after I got through it, the one thing when I was there is that you never saw. Once people had got through it and gone, then you never saw them again. So I made a point of going back. So after I'd recovered and I'd got as much of an all clear as they will give you, which they don't. Even now they won't tell me that I'm cured. They tell me that I'm in remission. But I've been in remission since I was 14. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm cured. But I made a point of going back. I used to go back, and I used to talk to the parents, and I used to talk to the kids, because to just say, look, you can get through this, because we never had anyone. There was no one to see you can get through this. All you ever saw was the ones that died. So, and that was 1986. So the rates weren't what they are now. The rates, fortunately, for the type of leukemia that I had, are a lot higher survival rates now, especially in children. So it was that really. It just made me grow up a lot more. It meant that I got away with all the peer pressure of smoking. No one's going to offer the cancer kids cigarettes. So I got away with all that sort of thing. I don't know really. It just the fact that I lost my hair and then grew it long when I was 17 didn't help. That's why the Chrome Dome ended up like that, because my hair was too weak to have long hair. But yeah, that was that really, I guess. But just rewinded to the behemoth one again. We did that, finished, stopped rolling, walked off, and Toph said to me, "Oh my God, that stuff with the birds was amazing." Because you can see him watching it back again now. You see when I ask him, he swallows. There's a big lump in his throat. Yeah, proper, like not used to talking about it clearly. And he paused and he stopped, and then when he looked and he saw the birds, it was like, oh, what a moment. And I was and it's just when you get moments like that, it's just perfect. Because like I say, I'm not an interviewer. I've got no media training. I've got no thing. So you just go for the human aspect. You talk to the person, not the rock star, and that's when you get moments like that, I think.
But that's the beauty of it, because I've seen this happen in multiple interviews with you. I mean, I have a clip here with the guys from Devil Driver lined up. There you go, Derpy. Thank you for the clap. Where you genuinely
don't ruin it. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin the clip.
You genuinely just relate. You just stop ruining the clips, Julian.
This one was different. This one was different.
I'm not gonna ruin it. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm such a fucking fan. I actually genuinely love the way you approach things. That's why I'm splurging too early, you guys.
Yeah. This one was completely unplanned, and just to set it up, this was our last interview of the weekend. So for reasons you're about to see, it had been a really difficult weekend for me. Had a big incident in my life, and it happened just before Bloodstock, and they were very much, listen, if you don't feel like coming, you don't come. And I was like, no, I want to come. And we'd gone through the whole weekend, and I'd managed to hold it together, and this was our last interview of the whole weekend with Des from Devil Driver.
I'm from the street. I ran away at home when I was 15 years old. I'm from the street. I went to prison. I want it real. I want it raw, and I always have. I've never walked anybody else's path, and the day I die, I just want people to put that on my tombstone. Never walked anybody else's path.
Absolutely. Sounds like a really good message, it's got to be said.
Yeah.
A really good message.
Yeah.
You almost sound like a preacher.
Be good. Be in love with life, man. If you're awake today and you took a breath today, that's where you want to be. I buried 2 of my best friends this year, and every day I wake up and go, there it is. Let's do it. What are we going to do today?
Yeah. I lost my mum 3 weeks ago.
Thank you, bro. Oh, you did?
I did, just before this. Man, just before I had to do all this.
Sorry, man. I'm sorry for your loss.
No, it's okay. It's good. I'm okay with it.
Well,
I'm okay.
It's the passing of a shell.
Yeah.
It's a graduation. This is a shithole, this planet.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with so many emotions. We're all such beautiful, articulate beings, humans. Beautiful, articulate, giving beings. And then look at all the fucking atrocity and horror and war and man-made religion that's killed millions of fucking people.
You know that, like, for me, 1 second. Oh. What the hell just happened? Oh, there we go.
Your microphone
For me,
went off.
yeah, exactly. My mic just went on a walk.
You ruined the moment again, Adnan. Jesus Christ, man. Getting all emotional
streamer
myself
in
now.
the chat. Pro streamer in the chat, you guys. For me, that didn't feel like an interview. That did not feel like an interview. For me, that moment, that interaction, the way Des got up and gave you a hug, like that was me being a fly on the wall, where two people were just hanging out, having a conversation. Like that's what the interview felt like.
Yeah, and that's what I tried to do. As I say, with that one, it was the aftermath of that one was quite odd because I felt I'd fucked it up. I felt I shouldn't have said it because it made the interview be about me, not about him. And he's the person that I'm interviewing. It's supposed to be about him. So I went to the PR afterwards, and I said, "Listen, I'm sorry if I was out of order with what I did. Was Des okay?" And she said, "No." He said it was a great interview. Why? What happened? And I told her what had happened and what I'd said, and she was like, "Oh no, listen, he's not going to have a problem with that. He'll be fine with that. It's great." And then I was like, "Okay." And I went backstage, and as I say, we were finished, and we'd had a bit of bad weather that weekend, and I'd got an umbrella from Rachel, one of the directors. So I took it back round to her, and I was still beating myself up a little bit for it. And I came in, and she said, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah, we just done the last interview." And she's like, "You okay?" They all go, "Okay." I went, "Yeah, I was a little bit off with that last one." And she went, "Why? What happened? Who was it?" And I said, "It's Des from Devil Driver." And she went, "Oh, he's usually okay. What happened?" So I told her what had happened. And while I was talking about it, Adam came in as well, who's the one of the other directors. The directors are Adam, Ricky, Rachel, and Vicky. They're brother and two sisters. So while I'm telling her that, I said, "Yeah," and I said this, and I said about my mum and all that, and he was okay about it, I think. And Rachel said, "That's why we have you here. We have you here because we want you to interview the person, not the rock star." Adam said to me, "We were amazed you turned up. We didn't think you'd be here. We were delighted to see you, but we didn't think you'd come." It was literally, my mum had died 3 weeks before the festival, and the funeral was a week before the festival. So it was difficult. I'd had no time to prepare. That was the thing. Usually you're preparing for the bands you're going to interview for weeks before, and it was the fact that I didn't literally, have the preparation that annoyed me the most. And I think it was just that thing of the fact that I'd got through, I think we did 40 interviews that weekend, 30 or 40, something like that. And it was just getting through that last one, and I felt like I'd managed to keep it bottled in, and then in the last one, I blurted it out, sort of thing. But it went okay. Looking back at it now, I get emotional watching it, obviously. But
no, it's perfect. And as Sir Edmund Black is saying, actually, it is perfect because you're always talking to the person, and that comes from you as a person. It was just a straight up heartfelt moment, and like I was saying, it almost felt like I was peeking in on a conversation. Like there was no cameras, there was no microphones. Like you guys were just having a moment, 100%, and it just happened to be recorded. That's kind of the way.
Well, the weird thing about that is I saw that. I only saw that myself for the first time like in the last few days because I got it off Tope. Because what we do is we edit all the videos, we get them all down, we send them all over to Bloodstock, and they put them out on their YouTube channel every now and again. Yeah. Eventually, and some of them they don't. That one, for whatever reason, has never gone out. So it's never gone out live. The Bloodstock have got a guy that puts the stuff up there. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they don't. We don't know why. But I hadn't seen that. So I hadn't seen that interview until the other day. Wow. I remembered what had happened, but I only saw it like yesterday. I think it was when I cropped it to send it over to you. So it was. What's
your? This is kind of that rapid round of generic questions, but I have to ask you because as someone that has now been on the other side of the podcast stuff, of the interview stuff, I've gotten asked questions before, but I've never asked a lot of questions. What was your toughest interview you've ever had to do? Whether it was in terms of just awkwardness or because of you being a fan or just general stress of the person you're interviewing.
I'm not sure I've ever had. There was only one bad one out of those 78 bands that year, and I won't name the band, but I think with a lot of them, I just kind of, I thought the bigger the band, I'd sometimes say to them beforehand, listen, I'm just going to tell you before we start, I don't really know a lot about your band, to be honest. You know, I booked in last minute. I'm new to doing this. I've not really done it before. And, you know, and most of the bands were all right at that. One weren't. And they basically just kept, yep, no, maybe. And it was like, okay, basically, fuck you then. If you're just going to answer that, then this interview's never going to go out. It pissed me off a bit at the time, and it annoyed me a bit at the time. And I was half annoyed at myself for not preparing, and half annoyed at them for not acknowledging what I'd said. We only got asked to do it 2 weeks before the festival. There's no way I can, review. I can prepare for interviewing all these bands within 2 weeks. And I'd explained that to them, and they were, obviously not up for that. On the other hand, there's a gentleman called Rich Ward, who is in a band called Stuck Mojo, and he's also in Fozzy along with Chris Jericho. I told him that, and he was a darling about it. He was amazing. He was like really good. Because remember we were saying before, and I don't know if you can pull up YouTube clips. I haven't sent you this clip, but the end of that one was brilliant because as I was saying to you, I'm off camera, and I'm literally, I'm just asking the questions for off camera. And at the end of that one with Rich Ward, he literally went, I just want to say something. He says, can I just say that this guy's been told that he's not supposed to be on camera, and literally grabs me and drags me. my buddy Squatter here, he says, he's a good looking man. You should have him on camera, Bloodstock. And I'm just like, oh, great. So you had a kind of yin and yang with it. You had the Rich Ward on one side and you had this other band on the other. So there's never been a band that I've really been, as I say, you're a little bit nervous at times because you want to make sure it goes all right. But I think since that first year and since realizing you do need to prepare,
100%.
then I'm all right. If I know I've always got something to jump into, and I can talk for Britain, as you've probably noticed tonight. So I can pretty much talk about anything, and I'll just I usually find something to jump in with. And I'm saying sometimes it'll be something the majority, I would say 99%, not even 95%, I'd say 99% of the interview, the time when we finish rolling at Bloodstock, when I've done an interview, I'm like, yep, happy with that. So that's all you need, really.
Yeah,
because I'm a fan. That's the other thing to mention as well, is that Bloodstock have this thing by the fans for the fans, and that's what it is, because the people that run the festival are fans of the thing. So for me, what I try to do is I try to do an interview that I would want to watch as a fan. So when you have a band, and there was a band that first year, there's a band called Suma that I actually showed on your show the other night, Pinch Cut, that we put the video on the other night. And I interviewed them, again, being sneaky. One of the first bands that we interviewed in 2016 was them, because they were mates of mine. And I thought, I'll get them out of the way and I'll get going with it. And so we interviewed them on the Friday. And on Sunday, they came back over and they said, how'd it go? I'm just chatting to them on the Sunday. How'd the interviews go? I went, great. He said, yours was the best interview that we had. And he says, they've got all these interviewers from all these big publications and all that sort of thing. He says, and they just don't listen to you. They've got a list of questions in front of them. So he said there was an example where he'd said, oh yeah, we just finished touring, bloody bother. Well, it's quite a funny story about that, actually. And this guy went, when's the new album out? He's like, what? I just told you something funny happened on the tour. There's your in to say, oh, what was that then? No, straight to the next question. God, that's dull. That's the dullest, question and answer. When is the album out? When are you touring? How does it feel when you're on stage at a festival? They're boring, they're dull. You don't want to ask questions like that. So I'll literally have the facts. I'll have what the name of the latest album is. I'll have where they've just been. So a lot of the way that we do the band bookings with Bloodstock is we're in a European metal festival alliance. We'll tend to book the same band. So the band will have played in Czechoslovakia, usually Brutal Assault, the day before. Then they're at Bloodstock, and then they go to Belgium the day after, or something like that. So I usually know where they've been. So if I know that they've just travelled, then I'll talk to them about that, maybe, things like that. So it all depends on where you're at. But as long as you've got that knowledge, but you're not literally asking them a question, you're just sort of going, it's just on a conversation. You just come from Belgium, man. How was that? Was that all right? Rather than saying, where were you yesterday then? If I know they were in Belgium, it's better for me to say, all right, how was Belgium?
But
you know.
see, just that last 2 minutes of you explaining the process that you go through is more in depth and has more experience than a lot of the media people I know. Like people that have, they say that this is the thing they do. They've studied it. This is what they do for a full-time job. Have less passion when it comes to that stuff. The way you were explaining, like, you know, how you approach it in general, and how even if it's kind of just markers, you kind of pick up where the guys want to go in terms of an interview. It's more than media people. So my question is, why don't you consider yourself part of the industry yet? You've said it a few times already in the episode. This isn't what you do professionally, but god damn it, dude, you're professional, man.
I think I've had that a few times where I just say, I'm not really a broadcaster. They say, well, you are. You broadcast. Therefore, you're a broadcaster. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I am. But I'm not really a broadcaster. I'm not. I'm just not. This is a hobby. This is, you know, I feel very lucky, privileged to do what I get to do. I love the fact that I get to talk to all these bands, and it's exciting and it's good, and it's a weird thing, really, because when I was watching Bees last week, you know, he's talking about, like, you know, being mates with Winston from Parkway Drive, and you know, and actually being friends with them, and I kind of get that. I do, because, as I say, over the years that he's been doing it, and obviously he's got a lot more experience than what I have. As you said before, if you're interviewing the same people, they will recognize you, and they will do that. I've already interviewed a few people from quite bigger bands that I've interviewed a couple of times. From some of my favorite bands, like Phil from Sacred Reich. Love Sacred Reich. Every time I see him, he will greet me like a friend. Hey, Squat, how's it going? You know, that just blows my head every time it happens. But and you almost feel like you're a name dropper, or you're just doing it for, I'm friends with Phil from Sacred Reich. I'm not friends with him. He just recognizes me because he interviewed him once. We're not friends. He just recognizes me on a professional level, and he knows that I'm a fan, and he knows that I'm there, and I go and I get my CD signed, and I wear my T-shirt, same as everybody else, you know. So he knows that I'm a fan doing interviews, but we're not friends, and that's the bit that I get. I mean, they'll have some Zentrix, and I'd say a lot of the lower down bands I would say I'm friends with. I'd like to say I'm friends with anyway, but I don't know, really. There's a sort of level where it becomes, you're not really their friend, though, are you? I'm not saying that about Bees at all, because I'm sure Bees is, because he's just one of those guys, isn't he? I'll just tell you very quickly about Bees. When I first came on here, I didn't know him, because I don't really know industry people. When I first saw him on Twitch, and he said this last week, I found him hard work. I thought he is just on. He is just full on. And we've got a guy over here in the UK called Timmy Mallet, who was a children's TV presenter. He was the most annoying, hyperactive bloke in the world, and I used to call him Metal Mallet. Just literally just saying that's what he's like. He's just full on. But I went and watched his streams, and I think it was when he started doing his interviews that I was like, oh no, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. And then when I watched him on your, and I'd already got to this level, but then when I watched him last week on your, he is just the greatest guy. He's got that passion. He's just got so much passion for it. And he knows that he's Marmite. He knows that some people just can't get on with the motor mouth side of him and all that sort of thing. But I think he's brilliant. Absolutely love him to bits. But I'm rather be honest about it and say that I did find him hard work when I first arrived on here, because he was talking about, Bloodstock's on here, great, and he talks really well at Bloodstock, and again, he's so genuine. I know that that's true, and he was like, oh yeah, we'd like to work with you, and I'm not too sure about wanting to work with him now. God almighty, yeah, I'd work with him any day of the week.
Yeah, see, this is kind of the insanity of this platform for me personally, because before this I've been on Twitch for 6 months, I think. The 6 month before that, since April 2020, I was on Facebook. And Facebook is a different experience. Let's say that. Facebook was a different streaming experience, you guys. I don't know if you guys were around. Sandy Sin was around back then. Adnan Rocha was around back then. But it was a different experience. And what I found on Twitch is exactly what you're saying. Like, you can just pop into someone's chat Bloodstock popped into unmuted chat. We jumped over to your guys' quiz night. You jumped over into Beez's Mosh Talks. Daniel DK jumps in with a rate. Like, the community here is just absolutely bonkers. Denmark, meeting him and seeing what he does with his face and vocals, everything blows my mind here. And it turns into that network and that relationship and that community that is very unlike a lot of other places. Whether it's the people in front of the camera, the streamers, or everybody in the chat. And you guys know, on non-podcast days, we're all over the chat. It's one of those things that I can't really comprehend where it might go. But I want to ask you, how was it when the pandemic hit? You've been going to the festival, you've been interviewing a bajillion bands a weekend, and then you get the news that, there's this thing, like our vocabulary has changed. The lockdown, quarantine, wearing masks. What was that kind of strike like before finding this platform and this community here?
Yeah, personally, I my life, my day job didn't change for a start, because I'd already started working from home a year before. So fortunately, I was already working from home, and my company was great about people working from home anyway. So that was the biggest thing. I was so lucky with that. I kept my job, kept working full time on full wages. So that was the first thing. I could pay the bills. So that was that. From the music side of things, obviously gigs changed quite a lot. I went to a gig on March the 7th, was the last gig that I went to last year. It was Testament, Death Angel and Exodus. And even then, I was worried. I didn't feel comfortable at the gig. I didn't feel that I should be there. And I think I basically just stayed away from people, even then. Yeah. And that was quite early on, because we hadn't locked down. We locked down on March the 23rd, but we hadn't locked down. And then, so that was on the Friday. Then the following Friday was, that was a Saturday, sorry. The following Friday, I was supposed to be going to a big arena gig for Stereophonics with my girlfriend. My girlfriend's a big Stereophonics fan. So we were supposed to be going to that in Manchester Arena. And that was big, a lot of people there. And I said to her, I don't think we should go to that. I said, I think it'll get cancelled anyway. As the week went on and on and on, and they weren't announcing anything. And so it turned out they went ahead. So that went ahead on the Friday, and then they did two big gigs in Cardiff on the Saturday and the Sunday. And we didn't go. I just didn't get a refund on the tickets, gave her 120 quid's worth of tickets, and just literally, that was that. And I was generally all right. I'm fortunate to not suffer with bad mental health. I've always had, I think it possibly comes from the illness, I don't know, but I generally don't suffer with bad mental health. I became a Samaritan's Listing volunteer a few years ago purely because of that, because I almost felt, not guilty, but I also felt if I've got good mental health, then I should take advantage of that and try and help people that have got bad mental health. So for those who don't know what Samaritans is, it's a listing service, telephone service here in the UK. It's confidential, it is non-judgmental. We don't give advice, literally just at the end of a phone to just talk to people, bounce things around with them, and just to try to get them through. It's classed as being a suicide hotline. A lot of people think it as. It's not. It's literally just for anyone that's in distress, can phone for free 24/7, and that's it. Wow. So I'd got that, so I was already sort of doing that, so I felt that I was helping out a little bit, giving to the community in that sort of way. And then towards the end of that, I think maybe about towards the end of March, I started getting panicky, and that's very, very rare for me. And I started panicking, internally. I was starting getting
but everything was still open in terms of like lockdown and stuff. Everything was still pretty much open.
I think 23rd we'd locked down. I seem to remember I had to go to the chemist to pick up some medication for my dad, and we were queuing 2 meters apart outside the chemist, all waiting. And there was a low wall next to us, between us and the chemist shop. And a girl came out of the chemist shop with a face visor on, but walked straight up to the wall, and she's sort of asking people, "What's your name and what you're here for?" And I'm just like, surely she shouldn't be that close to us. So as she started coming along the wall, I started walking away from the wall towards the pavement, thinking, yeah. So she comes over and she said, what's your name? I said, should you be that close? And everyone that was behind me in the queue all went, oh, yeah. And they all started backing away again as well. And when she went back in, I started getting like a tight chest. I started getting like a panic attack, I suppose, of some type. But I'd never experienced like anything like that before. Well, like I say, I'm not used to that at all. And I think it was a lot of Facebook and a lot of the talk and so on. So I've been Facebook. I literally just came off Facebook and not been back on it since. And I was an absolute. I used to spend hours and hours a day on Facebook, so long, and I binned it, and it helped out quite a lot. So in terms of me personally, I think I've been very lucky in terms of work and mental health, getting through it. And where I live is not really that a very busy place, so it's not as if I've had to worry. And we've managed to get the shopping delivered and everything like that. And yeah, so I've been okay in terms of that. But in terms of Bloodstock, obviously, we struggle. We're an independent festival. And you know, a year out for us is going to take a big hit. So when the Twitch thing started coming along, I sort of saw it, and we'd started up on Twitch. Bloodstock themselves, without me, had started Twitch, and it was just a couple of them just playing games every now and again. Didn't really have a strategy for it, and I think that possibly did us a little bit of damage to start off with. But when I sort of said I want to get involved, and I wanted to sort of almost replace the podcast with this, then that was the reason for it, because I thought to myself, even if we can chuck just a few quid into the coffers and we can just get them a little steady trickle of income, then that might help keep the festival ticking over 24/7, because it's a year round. If we keep doing this, which we're planning on doing, then it's a year round income for the festival that they're not used to having. The only income they get normally is ticket sales, merch sales, and what they've spent at the festival. So this hopefully will be a year-round thing, and that's the plan for doing it, really.
It's crazy to think of what you guys went through, contemplating the idea of the festival completely shutting down for a year, or the way the pandemic hit. Because I remember when it started going down here, the last band we saw live in Dubai was Nervosa, and I remember their ex frontwoman Fernanda was completely freaking out. Like the rest of us were like, there's something happening far away. It's cool. Like nothing has hit us yet. And she was wearing the mask. She had the little hand sanitizer. She didn't want to do the meet and greet beforehand or after. She wanted her to bring her own pen if she signed anything. And the promoter and the entire crew and their tour manager Martin, shout out to Martin, and myself, who was helping out with all that stuff. We were just like, this can't be what's happening, right? Because if this is the case, then there's not going to be any shows. And I very specifically remember sitting down with the promoter and stuff and contemplating, like, listen, everything we have in terms of shows is imported. Do you think this is an issue? And he went, nah, man, this is gonna blow over. Like next weekend we'll have a fucking show. Don't worry about it. And then we were supposed to open up for Lacuna Coil on our album release in Dubai, and then start our journey into Europe. And that was March 20th, and it got canceled. And we're like, okay, listen, this shit might be serious. Like, what do you guys think? And even though it was lockdown, even though everything was restricted, we stupidly went, all right, let's put on a private show. People were supposed to go to a show anyway. Let's just invite everyone that was supposed to see Lacuna Coil and play a show with the two local bands. And a handful of people showed up. Everyone on Facebook and everyone that was invited said, listen, it's too risky. And stupidly, I don't know what it was. I was just like, this can't be the case. This doesn't sound right. It
was like a movie, though, wasn't it? It was like
absolutely.
It was like some sort of horror movie. And I interviewed a few bands last year. We did a virtual event last year for the European Metal Festival Alliance that I mentioned earlier on. Those festivals that we're in a thing with. So we had over Bloodstock weekend. We had 3 days of lockdown sets recorded by bands, and I did some interviews in between them. So I spoke to Winston for Parkway Drive, I spoke to Par from Sabaton. Spoke to Christina from Lacuna Coil actually as well. And they all had different stories as to where they'd been. Because, like, for example, Partway Drive were already home. They'd finished their tour. Lacuna Coil, as you know, were on tour. And they literally had to just get the hell out of there. They had to pack the stuff up because they didn't know whether they were going to be able to get flights the next day. Because
they were the first band to really take the hit. Yeah.
And they weren't, because Italy got hit really badly. They weren't sure they were going to be able to fly in. They were locking down all the airports. Sabaton were in Russia. And the Russians just said, yeah, just carry on. And they were like, what? But everyone else was playing. Par reckons they were the last band on the planet still touring because the Russians were just going, yeah, it's fine, just keep going. So they reckon they were playing gigs like till the end of March, and no one else was. So yeah. But it was strange. The interview that I had with Per was very interesting because he is a very intelligent guy, and he's also runs the business. He's like the manager of the band as well. And Sabaton are a very savvy band, you know. They obviously got all that history sort of knowledge as well. But he had I would say a slightly downbeat but possibly realistic view of this. And he's saying that basically going forwards now, whenever this opened up, and this was talking to him last June, I think this was June or July, and obviously we didn't know when this was going to be, but he was saying that he couldn't see things returning to normal until 2022, which is probably going to be about right, in terms of, you know, proper full festivals and everything like that. And he says, and even then, he was thinking that the thing that's going to happen, basically, his prediction for it is the ticket prices are going to have to go up because the companies that run the festivals and do all the logistics and everything are all going to put their prices up. The bands are going to have to pay that, and the promoters are not going to want to pay the bands anymore. So someone's going to have to pay for that, and that's probably going to be us fans. So he thinks that ticket prices will have to go up because it's going to cost a lot more to tour. Another band that I spoke to, Psycho Stick, who I'm good friends with as well.
I love Psycho Stick.
Yeah, I brought when they came over to the UK, I literally psycho stalked them for 2 weeks, and I got to be really good friends with them, and especially Matty. I'm really good friends with Matty. But Matty was telling me a few weeks ago that because their streams are so popular now, and because it costs them so much to actually tour, so when they come over to the UK and they do their tour, he says they've been over 3 times, and he said we broke even on the last one. The other 2 we lost a bit of money on, not too much. He said, but now. He said, I'm not even sure we'll ever come to the UK again because why? When we can stream and we can make the money and we'll still, you know, why would we do that? We'll probably do American gigs, but I'm not sure we'll do international gigs again. Oh, wow, that is big. If bands are considering that, that's massive.
We have you guys on Twitch, Notfest on Twitch. We have promoters, musicians, full bands like Psycho Stick performing their entire set. Matt Heafy from Trivium. We got Daniel DK from Exciter. There's an insane influx of specifically metal musicians on this particular platform. Where do you think it's going? Like you were saying, this is going to be a thing that Bloodstock does now. Twitch and being active on here and the way you guys are approaching it with different kind of shows. And we have a couple of questions about Stan and stuff that we'll get into in a sec. Where do you see, just as Squatter, where do you see the world going once everything opens up in terms of the online presence?
For us, certainly, I just want us to keep doing what we're doing, but get better at it. And you know, we're going to learn a lot from you for a start. You know, the whole sort of pro streamer thing that you have in your Discord is going to be great for us. But we want to basically create a Bloodstock that's online. We just want to, you know, our Discord is set up to look like Bloodstock. We want shows to be about Bloodstock. These things that I've done tonight, talking about the interviews and talking around the interviews and talking about backstage and the things that happen at the festival, and I want to do more of that. I want to just make it literally dripping with Bloodstock. When Notfest came on, whatever it was, 5-6 weeks ago, something like that, whenever they started, we were a little bit wary because we were still quite reasonably new to the Twitch site, and we were very much we'd already had conversations with people from Twitch. And they contacted us to just see if we needed any help with anything. And they said, you're the only festival on here at the moment, but Notfest are going to be on here in a few weeks. And then when I said we were holding the festival this year, he said, oh, wow, are you going to stream from there? I said, I don't know, maybe we're going to try to. He said, if you do, you'll be the first festival to ever do it. The fact you've got a festival this year puts you in a really, really strong position. So that's what I want to do. It won't be bans, I don't think, because obviously that's licensing issues and stuff like that. But I would like to actually stream from Bloodstock in some way or another, if we can. I definitely want to try and do that. But in terms of the actual content, I want to just literally bring Bloodstock and the idea of Bloodstock to people. Knotfest are doing it differently, I think. I think Knotfest are doing it. They have some entertainment shows, they have some music shows, but they also have the news and all that sort of thing. And I think they're doing it a slightly different way. And obviously, they've hit it big. They've come in with a 40-hour schedule straight away with clearly, seasoned presenters and people that are used to doing it. We're not.
They have a lot of guest presenters, absolutely. Last time we rated them and Hardcore Keem, who has his own channel, all that stuff, was presenting a Knotfest countdown for sure. Yeah,
exactly. And obviously, some mentioned Daniel Decay. He's already got a really strong following on here. So they've tapped into that, and they're literally now like, okay, so Daniel Decay will go on air an hour before he's going to be going on Knotfest, and then he'll just raid and bring them all over. So they get those numbers up straight away. But what I did was I went over to Knotfest the day they started, and I went in and introduced myself. I said, "Hi, how you doing? We're Bloodstock. We've been on here for a little while. We're not obviously, seeing, wow, you've got an amazing schedule." Turns out that Mazza, that's one of their main mods in there, is British. So imagine you got chatting to him straight away. We got invited, myself and Stan went on their Trivia Legends show the second week the Knotfest was on air. So we'd never been invited onto anything else straight away. But like I say, Twitch is different. You start off and you go, oh shit, they're going to be in competition with us. They're going to try and steal our audience. That's the normal way of thinking about it. Twitch doesn't work like that. Everyone works. Yeah. Everyone works together. Everyone raids each other. Everyone's happy to share an audience. And the thing I've always said, rising tide raises all ships. That is never truer than on Twitch. And the Primordial Radio,
have that tattooed on me, right?
Yeah, the Primordial Radio gang, Primordial Radio again. Station that I've been involved with. I'm a shareholder in the station, but again, they started off from scratch. They've got a different model to everyone else. Absolutely love them. They've been on Twitch quite a while, but when I first came on, I was very cautious of stealing their ideas. So I went and talked to them. I talked to Moose, who's the head guy there, that's a good friend of mine. And I just went to him and said, "Listen, mate, we're starting up on Twitch. We really like what you're doing, but I don't want you thinking we're stealing your ideas." And he said, "Mate, it's just any ideas you want, you just take them. A rising tide raises all ships." He said, "You 100%. Do whatever you need to do, because if Bloodstock is successful, we are successful. Primordial will be coming to Bloodstock as a radio show, and their aim eventually is to be broadcasting. They've got a van that it can do remote broadcast from. They want to do a radio station in the middle of the arena at our festival at some point. And one day hopefully we'll do that. But there's no." There isn't any of that on here. There just isn't. Yeah. You just 100%. Don't see it. Everyone helps 100%. Each other out.
As our beast mod, Derpy just said, we talked about it a few times too. We can't really take away someone's viewers.
Yeah. I watch several streams at a time on here. I've generally got 3 or 4 up at a time.
We call it the tribe for a reason. Hell yeah, absolutely. I just want to shout out some people that hit that follow button. Riff Nerd Luke, what's going on? Bernie, thank you for that follow. And Musegrove 1989 and Ferris Gorilla. We got another gorilla in the house. Oh no.
Ferris Gorilla is one of our presenters. He does a gaming stream that's going to become a bit more multi content in the future as well. So Ferris Gorilla is usually on Wednesday nights, but tonight we've got a little bit of a treat for you. So it's probably time for me we're getting towards that time now where I should sort of introduce Stan, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly. I wanna play a little clip. I'm gonna play a little clip. I'm not gonna ruin it. I'm not gonna ruin the clip, you guys. I know you guys have very little faith in me.
I'll tell you who Stan is first of all. Yeah. So Stan is our mascot. He's been on our artwork since day one. The guy that first started the festival, Paul Gregory, who is the father of the people I spoke to earlier on, the brother and the 2 sisters. He was their dad. He started the festival, and he is an artist. He's a proper artist. He did album covers for Saxon. He's done album covers for loads of different bands, Blind Guardian, and loads of stuff like this. And he created Stan, which is a horned demon based on a local legend in Derby called the Derby Ram. So that's been Stan. And just after we started up on Twitch, this mysterious video appeared in Adam's inbox.
Hi, Adam. I didn't get told until just now that you needed a presenter for Bloodstock on your new Twitch. I'm not gonna lie, it hurts a little bit that I've had to approach you and you haven't come to me about it. But you know what? That's fine. That's fine. We'll shake it off. It's okay. But you know, you should know me by now. I'm solid. I'm a good choice. Previous references, my buddy, the Devil, and the Grim Reaper. You know, if you need me to show you anything, I'll be happy to oblige. But yeah, I'd love the job. I'd love the job. I just love it. I love you, and I love Bloodstock. Yeah. Bloodstock.
So that's 10. We already have a couple of questions about him. First, Gorilla is saying, how well has our Lord Stan been doing on the Bloodstock Twitch channel? And can you tell us a little bit more about him? So so now you saw his audition tape, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And looking at that now, I'm surprised that he's so reticent on that, because Stan is, you know, holy hell, he is he's just a menace, man. He's got a real chip on his shoulder. So obviously he hasn't had a voice for all these years. So the Gregory family that run Bloodstock, you know, they've all been, you know, telling these stories about, you know, when we first started the festival, we thought, well, there's no music around here now at the moment. We should start a festival. Stan will tell you a completely different story to that. Stan had this idea. Him and his mates, he was drunk one night. He was out drinking with Saxon. He asked Saxon to do a gig. He's got a completely different, he's got a proper chip on his shoulder. And I tell you, the team meetings that he is in, he just sulks all the way through. For example, so every year we'll have the team meeting. We're coming up, festival's coming up, right? Anyone got any ideas for something new? So this year we got a gaming arena, for example. We've never had a gaming arena before. We were going to have it in 2020. Got a gaming arena. Stan, every single year, without fail. What about my portal to hell? I've asked for it like 10 years running now. Why can't I have my portal to hell? It could go between the New Blood stage and Lemmy's bar. Portal to hell. That'd be all my friends could come every year. And we're just like, no, you just can't have it, Stan. You just can't have it. So he's a little bit of a sulky teenager, but I have to say he's really growing on Twitch. He's doing really, really well. I'm very, very pleased with him. He gets a bit ratty and he gets a bit annoying at times, but he's all right. He plays marbles, marbles on stream that you see on quite a few of them. He likes playing that. He's quite good at commentating on that. Plays some good music, So yeah, he's okay. He's doing well.
And how often is he on the channel?
He's on every Monday night. So yeah, he's on Monday nights, 8 p.m. UK time, and he's also on now. So we're going to raid in a minute, and we're going to go in there, going to go and see Stan. So if anyone wants to come and meet Stan in person, then do follow the raid and come over and see us. And yeah, so
wait,
Stan,
there we go. Sorry, you were stuck. I had to do a shift to room there.
Could you still hear me though? Could you still hear my
Yeah. No, it was everything was good except for the video crashed for some reason.
No, seriously, you don't need any video. That's fine. I'll just do this. That's fine. So Stan does that on a Monday night. Then on Wednesday night, we usually have Bloody Randomer and Fairest Gorilla do the Bloody Gorilla show. As I say, that's been a gaming stream. We're going to mix that up a little bit, especially leading up to the festival, and have more music involved. Thursday nights we have Bear on. Bear is he runs a venue in the UK. He is one of our Metal to the Masses promoters, and he does a show on a Thursday night. He does podcasts, he does music, and he does gaming as well. And then on Saturday night I do my show, which is a pub quiz. So it's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, multiple choice, heavy metal quiz. No prizes as yet. We might get them as we go along, but it's sort of a pre-drink sort of thing. So come along and hang out in the Bloodstock Arms pub, have a pub quiz, and then we go out to one of the club nights that they have on here, one of the metal club nights, Club Apocalypse or Ted Rock Show or something like that.
Hell yeah! And I think I don't remember if it was Bear had just where he DJs in the bar.
That was the week before they opened. So they were getting ready to open, And he thought, well, I'll go and set up in the bar because it's all ready to go. And I think they were opening that weekend. He did the show on the Thursday night. And he ended up going later and later. And then he got more and more. And he said, you know, similar to your Wheel of Fortune, he'll just be sort of like, there you go, I'll do this. And he ended up breathing fire with some of the alcohol. So I'm pretty sure that's against Twitch TOS. But hey, there you go.
That tops my do a shot of hot sauce, right? Bub 1664 and Kyle's 195. Kyle's, thank you guys for ending that follow. Welcome to the tribe.
Yeah.
It means.
Have we got any more questions, Adnan? I'm aware we haven't really.
I think we could rate. I think we need a part 2 for sure because I feel like there's a ton of stuff that I still. I actually looking at the notes. There's at least 50 more questions that I'd like to jump on.
Come on anytime, mate. Seriously.
But I think we need a part 2 because I think we need to bring everyone over to Stan's party. What do you say?
Yeah, all good with that. Yeah, nice one. Thank you very much for having me on and all that.
We do have the cute questions. We'll do this as a rapid round of questions right now. Bragner is asking, are those feet in the background?
What?
Bragner's weird. I don't know. I don't have anything in my background.
I don't have anything in my background. Have I got
so
feet?
no.
I don't know.
So no, Bragner. The answer to both of that is no. Rexter's asking you, how fun was it when you were working as a security guard?
Wasn't bad. I worked for a company called Showsec who actually do the security at Bloodstock, and they were very understanding, and I got to be good mates with the guy who's actually now managing director. It was while I was at university. But what they used to do was, we used to do football matches and we used to do music. If we liked the music or the football match that we were working, they'd always put us in a good spot so we could watch it. So I got to watch all 14 nights of Pink Floyd's final tour at Earl's Court, just standing there watching it in a private box.
Wow.
It was amazing. And I'm a metalhead, but they were the best concerts I've ever been to. They were amazing. And I got to just literally just sort of stand there. It's great.
Yeah, I would say that tops it. That tops it for sure. Julian's asking, do we all get a tribe discount if we fly in, and can Belphegor host the stage?
I'll say no and no.
No and no is fair. It's fair. Listen, I wouldn't.
I got to rattle through them
on any stage.
I could expand on those a little bit. We've got to rattle through, so I'll expand slightly and say hell no and hell no.
There we go. Thank you, Derper, for that clap. Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure having this conversation, and I feel like it's been 10 minutes. I could talk to you forever, and I definitely think we need a part 2 where we can dive into a lot more things and a lot more about the festival and you. There's just a ton to cover.
As you can tell, I can talk for Britain, mate, anytime you want.
But we're gonna stick around, you guys. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna party over at BloodstockFest's Twitch channel. We're gonna go raid them right now, and I think you guys will really have fun. So stick around, hit that follow if you haven't already. Do all the stuff. Before we go, I wanna shout out one of the homies. I want to shout out Julian Gorilla, who's from Guilty Gorilla Music Management. We have a thing coming on this Saturday where you get to show your music. If you're a musician, if you're an artist in any form, if you have your band's music, you could show Julian your stuff. His from a company called Guilty. There it is. I just put up the logo, and also they just put up some sick ass merch over on their website and stuff like that. So if you're a fan of bands having managers and bands being able to do things, these guys have stuck out their necks for every single one of their artists. And if you want to buy a cool T-shirt with a sick ass gorilla looking on it, go for it. It supports the company. It supports what Julian does. And this Saturday, you'll get to ask him questions. You'll get to play him your music, do all that kind of stuff. So if you're into that stuff, make sure you join the Discord, and we'll put all the links and all that stuff over in there. But yeah, man, Squatter, thank you so much for this conversation. You've been around long enough to know that we have a tradition around here. to end with the guest officially ending the podcast. So whenever you're ready, just in whatever way you want to do it, hit the outro.
Before I do, just very slightly, one thing I also did put, I've got a list over here of euphemisms for going to the bathroom. I didn't get to use any of them because I was fully.
All right, let's
fully
do a rapid.
I'm not going to rapidly. I'll just choose one because I do need the bathroom actually quite badly.
All right.
So I'm just going to retire to the library because my eyeballs are floating. Okay.
I love you guys. Stick around for the raid.
Hit the outro.
We're gonna retire to the library.